6 p.m. in London. This is The World Today with Maryam Moshiri. Iranian officials review a new US proposal to end the war. Donald Trump threatens the most intense strikes yet if a deal isn't reached. Standoff over the cruise ship hit by hantavirus, the Canary Islands. President says the Spanish government is wrong and it should not be allowed to dock. It comes as 3 people suspected of having the virus are evacuated from the ship today as it's anchored off Cape Verde. New figures show 13,000 flights have been cancelled this month alone as fears grow of a shortage of jet fuel amid the war. Also coming up on The World Today, it's Puffin Magic. The National Trust brings back puffing cams to the Farne Islands. We'll be taking a look. Hello and a very warm welcome to The World Today on BBC News. We start now with the Iran war because could the United States and Iran be getting closer today to a deal that could potentially end the war? Well, both Washington and Tehran want an end to hostilities, but on their terms, which have until now been too far apart for compromise. OK, well, listen, it's been so good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis. Robert Daly, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a short break now. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Let's turn our attention now to West Africa, where off the coast of Cape Verde, the luxury cruise ship hit by a deadly hantavirus outbreak remains marooned. In the past few hours, 3 people, 2 of whom are seriously ill, were evacuated for medical care. OK, Dr. Chris Smith, thank you very much indeed for the reassurance as much as anything else. You're watching The World Today. Coming up after this short break is the Iran war today. Stay with us on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, a briefing on the latest developments in the Israel-US war in Iran.
Hello, I'm Maryam Moshiri and this is the Iran War Today, our daily briefing bringing you up to date with all you need to know on day 68 of the US-Israel war with Iran. Well, let's start with some of today's key developments. Iranian officials review a new US proposal to end the war. Meanwhile, Donald Trump threatens the most intense strikes yet if a deal isn't reached. We'll head to Washington and speak to our correspondent who's been at the White House assessing the details of claims and counterclaims of a possible deal. Global oil prices have dipped below $100 per barrel following those reports of a possible agreement. Our deputy economics editor, Darshini David, will break down what impact this could have on inflation and jet fuel supplies. And in the last 24 hours, we've had rumours of a deal that would loosen Tehran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz. The US is saying it would pause its operation to guide ships through the strait. Our world affairs correspondent will give us the big picture of where we are in the conflict. Let's begin now in Iran, where the regime in Tehran says it's still considering a new US proposal to end the war. President Trump has issued an ultimatum to Iran, telling them to accept the deal and reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face intense renewed US bombing. Well, first, let's cross to the region and speak to our correspondent, Carrie Davies, who's in Dubai. Carrie, the first question, what is Tehran saying about the current standoff? OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Paul Adams. Well, whether you're joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Sounds, radio or television, thanks for your time. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the Iran War Today. Well, the Iran war is already hitting the airline industry and all those hoping to travel this summer. New data shows airlines have cut 13,000 flights globally in May as jet fuel prices soar due to the conflict in the Middle East. This means removing nearly 2 million seats from flights over May. Right, before we go, let's just take you live to Schiphol Airport in the Netherlands, because we have been hearing in the last few minutes that the plane thought to be carrying the passenger from that hantavirus ship has landed in the Netherlands. Now, this is a plane that's evacuating those suspected hantavirus patients. Remember, those 3 people were evacuated from Cape Verde on Wednesday morning. They're believed to be from Britain, from Germany and the Netherlands. And they are moving into the Netherlands. We're not sure where they're getting treated. Our correspondent Nick Beek said that potentially they could be then taken on to somewhere else to be treated, but that plane carrying those very sick passengers has now, we believe, landed at Schiphol Airport. We'll bring you more on that developing story here on The World Today. We're going to take a short break and we're back at the top of the hour with the headlines. Stay with us on BBC News. It's 6 p.m. in London. This is The World Today with Maryam Moshiri. An Israeli strike has hit the southern suburbs of Beirut, the first attack on the Lebanese capital since a ceasefire was agreed. Iranian officials review a new US proposal to end the war. President Trump threatens the most intense strikes yet if a deal isn't reached. Standoff over the cruise ship hit by hantavirus. The Canary Islands president says the Spanish government is wrong and it should not be allowed to dock. This comes as 3 people suspected of having the virus were evacuated from the ship today as it's anchored off Cape Verde. Here, candidates across Scotland, Wales and England make their final push for votes ahead of tomorrow's elections. Also coming up on The World Today.
Blood is Russia's heart! Blood is Russia's heart!
The Venice Biennale gets off to a stormy start with protests over Russia's involvement. Welcome to The World Today. We start this hour with breaking news. In the last hour, the Israeli military has carried out an airstrike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. It's the first since President Trump announced a ceasefire between the 2 countries last month. Let's cross live to our correspondent Hugo Bachega, who is in Beirut. Hugo, what more do we know about this? OK, Ruel, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your analysis.
My pleasure.
Let's take a short break now. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Well, tomorrow millions of people will head to the polls here for the biggest set of elections since the Labour landslide at the general election almost 2 years ago. The Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Senate and more than 5,000 council seats across England are up for election, as well as 6 local authority mayors. Results in England are expected to start coming in overnight on Thursday, with the first declarations in Scotland and Wales due on Friday lunchtime. Today, politicians have been out on the campaign trail, making their final pitches to voters. Our political editor, Chris Mason, has been following the last day of campaigning.
So, that's what the politicians are promising. Now, it's over to the voters.
You're watching The World Today on BBC News. Stay with us. This is BBC News. The latest headlines this hour. An Israeli strike has hit the southern suburbs of Beirut, the first attack on the Lebanese capital since a ceasefire was agreed. A plane believed to be carrying at least 1 passenger from the hantavirus cruise ship has arrived in Amsterdam. Candidates across Scotland, Wales and England make their final push for votes ahead of tomorrow's elections. The founder of CNN and philanthropist Ted Turner has died at the age of 87. Well, let's turn now to West Africa, where off the coast of Cape Verde, the luxury cruise ship hit by a deadly hantavirus outbreak remains marooned. In the last few minutes, a plane carrying 3 people evacuated from the MV Hondius for medical care has arrived in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Well, these are pictures of air ambulances while they're on the tarmac at Cape Verde airport before taking off for the Netherlands. OK, really interesting guy. Claire Atkinson, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for sharing your recollections with us. Let's take a short break now. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Resignations, boycotts and threats to cut funding. The Venice Biennale has begun in turmoil. There have been protests over the return of Russia for the first time since the Ukraine war. And the Russian punk protest group Pussy Riot and Ukraine's Femen have staged a joint protest together. Sarah Rainsford was there. Now we have a treat for all nature lovers out there. It's breeding season for the birds here in the UK, and these days there's an easy way of keeping track of what's going on. From today, you'll be able to watch reality TV with a bit of a difference. This is the live puffin webcam on the Farne Islands off the Northumberland coast. That's where Twitchers, which if you didn't know, means a dedicated birdwatcher. Fantastic stuff there. Now, a reminder, we will have special coverage of the election as the results come in overnight, tomorrow into Friday. Laura Koonsberg has more details.
Welcome to Election 26. Let me show you round. This is our studio from where we will begin 21 hours of non-stop election broadcasting. Over here at the giant screen, my colleague Rita Chakrabarti will be delving into the numbers, looking under the bonnet, trying to work out as the results come through what it means for all the political parties. Over here at the election desk, I'll be joined through the night and through Friday by a revolving cast of politicians. Some might be here to commiserate, some might be here to celebrate as millions of decisions made by voters come to the fore. There are a huge range of contests, vital elections in Scotland to decide who runs the Holyrood Parliament. Crucial contests in Wales, the battle there for the Senedd. And across England, more than 5,000 council seats are up for grabs. And in the background of all of this, of course, the fate of the Prime Minister himself. So stick it in your diary. Do join us from 11:10 on BBC One on Thursday. I look forward to seeing you then.
See you then, Laura. That's it from me and the team on The World Today. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Hello. Wednesday was a cool day nationwide. Temperatures well below average.